Hey, everybody. It is another episode of the Sick Podcast with me, Kelly Singh. Today, we're going to have a little coffee talk. Let's get into it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh.
Murray keeps it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous. It's Murray magic.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello, the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast, the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh, and the sickest production crew out there. If you watch any of the Sick Pods, then you know the team behind this network is fantastic. So I would be remiss if I do not thank them for an amazing season of football, but we are not done yet. Just because this is the last week of regular season NFL football, and just because the Cardinals are not going to make it to the playoffs, does not mean we're not going to be here. There's so much to talk about. So much to talk about football, about the Cardinals, about the off season, whatever you want to talk about. So I have my coffee. I thought we'd just have a little coffee chat today because it's been an emotional week, right? We all watched Monday Night Football. We all watched the incredible situation that went down. Unprecedented. I've heard it compared to a lot of things that I'm not going to go into. It was definitely unprecedented, and it did feel like the world stopped. Thank goodness that Damar Hamlin is showing signs of recovery, actually being unintubated and speaking and apparently FaceTiming with friends and family and teammates. Wow. I mean, nothing short of a miracle, right? I literally think back and think, I'm going to say literally again, I look back on that Monday Night Football and think we literally watched him drop dead. And they resuscitated him right there on the field, and we were riveted, just riveted. And it felt like there's nothing you can really say. It's such a helpless feeling to watch all of that happen and unfold before your eyes when you were just a football fan attempting to be entertained, right? It just put so many things in perspective for me, at least. And maybe I'm just far too introspective. I don't know. But during my day job where I'm a marketer, it's something that you think about. How does the everyday person react to this? Do I put out any social messaging? Do I pause ads? Do I send emails? Do I do a podcast like I do here with you? Or do we let it all just sit? And really, the answer is we let it sit. We let things sit with us and settle and find a place where we come together and realize there are a lot of more important things than who holds the number one seed in the AFC North. For example, I'm seeing a lot of tweets of, the Bengals are getting the short end of the stick on this whole thing. Well, what about the Ravens? The Ravens are really getting the short end of the stick of things. Kansas City is in, a holding pattern. There's a lot of implications that happen for a lot of teams, but is that really what our focus should be? Again, maybe I'm just too introspective. And according to some men, football is not for women. Okay. Okay, sir. Anyway, let's talk about the Cardinals. The Cardinals and our beloved Kyler Murray has had a successful surgery, and I was so thrilled to see that photo of him. And I'm so grateful to the Sick Pod production crew for putting up that tweet we had of Kyler in his little hospital gown, his little hospital bed, and he's like, yes, that is positive news. And I shared that it was nice to have some positive news on Twitter. If you're not following the pod on Twitter, it's at SickPodKelly. And if you're not following me on Twitter, I'm at Kelly in Phoenix. But I felt like, you know what? That is some positive news. I am happy to see that Kyler's surgery was successful. No matter how routine a surgery is, things can go wrong. But it appears that he's fine. And I'm still trying to find out. I haven't seen any news lately, and I will do my best to get caught up on this, but where he's going to be rehabilitating. So just glad to see that he had the surgery, that he's doing well and on the mend. And that's all that really matters right now. Other news that has come out in the last 24 hours, Vance Joseph from the Cardinals confirmed that he has signed an extension. So that's good news. Defensive coach. I can almost use words today. So that's good news. We always love to see good words again, you guys. Good players, good coaching staff. We want to see those people extended. And I'm just scrolling through my other little highlights here. If you didn't catch the interview with Arizona Cardinals tight end rookie Trey McBride, he tells the greatest story about his first career touchdown. And if you saw this game, he was so excited. He almost lost the ball, but he didn't. Thank goodness, because that would have been terrible. If you remember, he caught it and like slid across. This is the game against the Falcons, and he like caught it and like slid across the goal line. And you're like, oh my gosh. But he did such a great job. I will make sure that we get this in our show notes. But I want to give a shout out to at Bo Brack, BOBRACK. At Bo Brack tweeted this out, and it's just the cutest little breakdown of his experience in catching his first NFL career touchdown. And what I love about these kinds of stories is it brings lightheartedness to, an otherwise really heavy emotional week. So be sure to check that out from Bo Brack. Again, BOBRACK. Thanks so much, Bo, for sharing that. And we've had other great things, other great team news. Of course, we've been riddled with injury this season. I don't think that that's unique to the Cardinals, but it sure has been difficult. We've had Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown. Man, was he ever riddled with injury? But he is going through some physical therapy, getting stretches, working on his strength again to be in top peak season when we come back. That's all we want, is to see these players healthy, playing at their top performance, and just they are there to entertain us. But it's like such a weird feeling to say that. This is their job. Playing football is their job, and it turns out that it's a very dangerous job. So we should be grateful that they're really putting themselves on the line just to be out there and entertain us. So it's good to scroll through the headlines and see that Marquise Brown is getting back to working out again. So that's good. Another Cardinal that has been riddled with injury this season, Rondale Moore. I've talked a lot about Rondale Moore. He's one of my very favorite players. When he came from his rookie season 2 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I love him so much. I can't wait to see him excel. Injuries, groin injuries, especially hamstring injuries is another one. And just the other day on Instagram, he had posted a pinky that had like completely gone awry. Like, I can't even like explain what it looked like, but it was pointing the other direction. If you take a look at Rondale Moore on Instagram, you will see this crazy pinky. And then he goes on showing photos where it looks like his pinky is messed up like that anyway. But wow, I really hope that doesn't hinder him anymore because that was wild. I think the only thing that's kind of outstanding is what's going on with Kliff Kingsbury. We're not really sure. That's still in limbo. I'm sure he's probably going to end up staying on as much as we don't really want him to stay on. He's probably going to stay on. As soon as we have any news on that, definitely we'll be passing it along. And then the Kliff Kingsbury news. He did mention, he did give the Kyler ACL update. If you ever go back and watch his press conferences, which I often do, he gives these little snippets beyond his short answers and sometimes weird veiled covering up for other weird things answers. You get some good nuggets. So there was some information about Kyler's ACL and surgery, that it was successful, that it was complete, and also about the team seeing team psychologists for the incident this week with, again, Damar Hamlin. It's nice to see that the NFL is helping to step in and provide some support for these players because, again, unprecedented event. You got to go out there and you got to play again. So it is nice to see some improvements in that area and making sure that the players are well taken care of, because certainly if it had happened to our team with the Arizona Cardinals, I know that the Valley would definitely get behind the team and be like, we just want them to be healthy and safe and be ready to take the field again when they're ready. At least that's how I feel. The last thing I want to touch on is fantasy. Was your fantasy team affected? I would say yes. There were not too many teams that wrapped up prior to Monday night. I happen to be in 27 leagues. And out of those, many of them, I was in a playoff situation. More than half of them, I was in a playoff situation. And in 3 of them, I was in a first place situation. And by really, I would say Wednesday, it was Wednesday, they had all just decided to go ahead and take the recommendations of whatever platform happened to be on. Each platform kind of had their own way of handling how the points could be scored retroactively or going forward into week 18, and if those matchups would be extended. But the caveat was they would leave it up to the commissioner if they wanted to just cut the season right there, just chop it and declare a winner. And in all 27 of my leagues, the commissioner took that option, and none of mine were in a position where they would need to be even splits, where it's like, well, we'll just concede co-champions or anything like that. Lucky for me. But I know there were plenty of leagues where they did vote to do co-champions because there were just too many unknown factors with players left in limbo. If your league was affected by this in a way where you had to split or there was some other unique circumstance, I'm so curious to hear how your league handled it. Will you please tweet us at SickPodKelly or tweet me at Kelly in Phoenix and tell us how your league handled this last championship week. I'm really curious as to how other leagues came up with their solution. I've heard a lot of creative solutions, and I want to hear yours. So share your stories of the last week of fantasy football and how all of that went down. I'm sure there's some juicy tea or coffee that we could get into. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, I'm lining up a guest, so we'll have someone to chit-chat with. And again, we're going to continue chit-chatting, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just short little shows, keeping in touch so that we can, continue our season together and roll into the next season together. One item you should be super excited about, I received my press credentials for the Super Bowl. So while I am not yet sure if I'm actually going to be able to get inside of the game, I do have my press credentials to be in the press areas. So I will be taking photos, taking video, making sure I get stuff to our crew. So maybe we can put together some compilation episodes or find a spot to do recording or live. We'll figure it out. But you know what? It's not less than. It's just about a month away. And I'm really excited. I cannot wait to bring you, viewers, listeners, a look at what's going on the inside at the Super Bowl. So until next week, stay tuned and be good. We'll catch up. See you later. All of those goodbyes. I'm sure most of these are going to be edited out. See you next week. Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.